Why did you want to get involved in it?
Because, I feel like there are not that many people that want to get involved into climate change. Well, if people get involved into climate change,
we could create a community.
After a strike, there's a community of people who fight against one opinion that is wrong.
So we've got to keep that pressure up on them, nevertheless. It was your idea. It's such a good image.
Yes, and we made a hole in the bottom to represent all the knowledge that has been lost about climate change.
I've got 3 granddaughters. The oldest is just coming up to 10. And the world that she's going to be living is going to be very different.
When my mother was my age, the river where she used to play was wide and full. Now it's hardly there at all.
It's like someone who's raising you and you hate the person who's raising you, but the planet that you're living on is technically raising you as well, so you shouldn't hate what you're being raised on.
In my own way of thinking, God is reality, God is existence, God is truth, and God is beauty. God calls us to deal with all of those elements and trying to make sense of them and trying to say, well, something at the moment is very wrong.
Plan B is an organisation taking the government to court for not acting enough on climate change.
Izzy asked me a question, would you like to join Plan B? And I was stuttering and I was thinking, would I join Plan B or wouldn't I? That was on one play date. We got chocolates and
and it was
water and orange juice.
That was a highlight, getting chocolate. We have a website together.
Called climatelife.net. WP Uzak.
We try to advertise it quite well. We've got an Instagram, we've got social media for it.
And we got 1,000 followers.
No, we don't though. We've got 73.
70. You said 1,000 in the list.
I said we've got 1,000 views on our
views,
website.
okay, views. Okay, I think you meant followers.
Lots of it is just people don't know about it and then they just think it's all right. We want to spread it to different places and hopefully we can raise more people to be aware about it.
I want to try to bring the Jewish community into the issues of climate change. We need to deal with the realities, collaborating with other faiths, and then seeing what is it that together we can do about this world in which we're living. More and more, that laws are there to be used by citizens and not only to be used against citizens. And I think I'm learning that. I think one of the wonderful things about being old is that you realise just how much there is to learn. It isn't as if I am one of the Greenpeace protesters who's climbing up onto a crane or lowering posters down and likely to get arrested. I'm going to court, but not as an accused. Well, that's very lucky.
We should take action right now because
who hates Earth? Who hates whatever?
People who come from outer space that want to destroy the world.
And we don't want to move to Mars because of our place being destroyed.
Our coffins will be
we want to stay on this beautiful planet.
It's got grass, it's got everything. You can't just go up to Donald Trump and say, hey Donald Trump, why don't you change the carbon emissions? Why don't you break down the nuclear power plant?
we have to do it together, but
Because
we
it's
need
not
to
only a group of
change
people that's
with more
gonna-
powerful people with more
It's
power.
not going to be just one group of people just doing it.
Yeah,
Whilst the other group is just relaxing and saying, we'll do it, but 3 hours later, no one's doing it. 6 hours later, no one's doing it. 5 years later, no one's doing it. 50 years later,
We're
I'm still
dead.
an old man, but not doing it.
and we're all dead.
Still. And everyone's dead.
We know that we have to work and talk with and learn from the widest number of people who are not all left-wing radical activists, but are ordinary, and say, what can I do about it? How can I help? How can I be involved? What can we do together? And that's the way in which change might take place. And what I am involved in now through and with Plan B and in the work that I'm trying to do about climate change is very informed by the suffering of the Jewish people. I know about suffering, and I know that it isn't only the Jewish people, and I know that there is much suffering in the world in which we live. Much more suffering than any of us can take on our individual shoulders, but that we together have to face up to. Power is not of the individual, power is only of people working in concert together. There isn't an exact parallel, but there is enough that we can't ignore the issues, and the word that I am using is of being a bystander. That was a word that the Jewish people started to take as a recognition of those people who knew what was going on and didn't do anything about it. And I think that that is the word now that we all have to recognize. We know what's going on, and if we're not doing anything about it, we're bystanders. We can do so much more than nothing.
I'm very proud that my friend Majid is taking climate action to court and standing up for all people, all animals and all life on Earth.
I'm worried about climate change because I think it will make the world a bad place to live in when I grow up. I'm also worried about the effect that this will have on animals, particularly French pugs, which already have a difficulty in breathing because of their narrow nostrils.
Please join us in standing up for our future.
Sachar harbe, val habayit docheik. Rabbi Tarfon says, it is not your duty to finish the task, but you're not free to neglect it. And it's very apposite for working with climate change. It's not your duty to finish the work, but you're not free to neglect it. We're not going to be able to finish, but there's a lot to do, and it's up to us to get on with it.
We need to act quickly. Disaster is coming. The world is dumbing. No more no more fossil fuels. The drought is coming. The flood is running. This is the season to sue the government because there's nothing merry about climate change.
Young to old, religious to not religious, political activists to very little activists. Many, many different people representing different aspects of the world in which we live. Unifying, bringing together seems to me hugely important.
We demand a future.
We demand a future.
We demand a future.